Let's talk about our brain. Brain is a very important organ in the head in our body that is responsible for all the functions of our body, be it psychological or physical. In order to understand the functioning of our brain, let's first try to understand how the food impacts our brain and mental health. So let's talk about brain and nutrients. Fats. The largest part of our brain is made up of fats. Omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids that comes from nuts, fatty fish, etc. So fat doesn't mean saturated fat or trans fat. The fat should be good fat that we eat. Fat is responsible for creation and maintenance of the cell membranes. Trans fat and saturated fat may compromise brain health and impact the neurotransmitters balancing. On the other side, healthy fat helps in the brain functioning. Another very important macronutrient that impacts our brain functioning is protein and amino acids. It manipulates how we feel and behave. Amino acids contains the precursors of the neurotransmitters. So our brain functions basically through the functioning of the neurotransmitters. The chemical messenger that carries signals between neurons is impacted by these macronutrients, and it affects our moods, sleep, attentiveness, also our weight. A complex combination of food releases the nutrients that impacts and alter the neurotransmitters norepinephrine, dopamine and serotonin. These neurotransmitters impacts our mood. So the balanced diet with a range and variety of food helps maintain a balanced combination of the brain messengers, which helps to keep our mood swings away. Hence, our brain also benefits from a steady supply of nutrients like other body organs. So it's always important to have a balanced diet with a balanced nutrition. Antioxidants are very important for healthy brain functioning, and these are found in fruits and vegetables. It strengthens the brain to fight off all the free radicals which destroys the brain cells. So the free radicals destroys the brain cells and antioxidants helps to fight it. This increases the life of the brain. Micronutrients, that is B12, B6, folic acids, avoids brain diseases and mental decline. Iron, copper, zinc, sodium, these are the minerals that is fundamental for cognitive development of our brain. Therefore, antioxidants and minerals and vitamins are very important for our brain health. Glucose, a very important nutrient for our brain health. Our brain weighs only 2% of our body weight, but it uses 20% of the energy resources that we have in our system. Most of the energy comes from the carbohydrates that are digested by our brain into glucose or blood sugar. So carbohydrate is another very important macronutrient for brain functioning as it releases glucose. The drop in the glucose levels impacts our brain functioning as it directly impacts the frontal lobe of our brain that is responsible for the brain functioning. Therefore, along with the macronutrients like fat, protein and carbohydrates, micronutrients like vitamin B12, B6, folic acid, iron, copper, zinc, sodium are equally important for the brain's functioning. At deficiency in micronutrients may result into brain diseases and mental decline and impacts the cognitive development. Mental disorder may result into brain injury. Let's talk about PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental health condition that is triggered by any traumatic event one has faced or witnessed, like war, accidents, crimes, abuse or death, etc. It has been researched, observed and witnessed that PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorder, may result into brain damage, causing detrimental impact on amygdala, prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. These are the different parts of our brain, and we will talk about these different parts of our brain in detail so that we can understand how a mental disorder results into brain injury, resulting into impacting different parts of our brain and the brain functioning. Amygdala. So you can see the red spot in the diagram. So amygdala is the part of the brain that is involved in thinking, long-term memory and emotional processing, which get impacted after PTSD. In this region of the brain, the factor as genetic and social traumas may cause abnormalities, resulting into triggering the symptoms of bipolar disorder, that is another mental disorder. Hippocampus. As you can see in the picture, hippocampus is the part of the brain that is involved with learning and memory. It is a plastic and vulnerable structure that gets damaged by a variety of stimuli, one being the PTSD. Studies have shown that it also gets affected in a variety of neurological and psychiatric disorders. Prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is very important and it plays a very crucial role in cognitive control functions. Prefrontal cortex gets damaged after PTSD syndrome. Dopamine in the prefrontal cortex modulates cognitive control, thereby influencing attention, impulse inhibition, prospective memory, and cognitive flexibility. Therefore, the mental disorders like PTSD results into cognitive distortion as it impacts the prefrontal cortex of our brain. Emotional stability. Emotional stability has been connected with the brain health. Emotional stability is connected with neuroticism, which can be observed as people who are very critical of others, highly dependent on others, who always keeps on asking for help instead of doing it on their own. The researchers focused on the structure of the cortex, the outer layer of the brain, and they found that in people who are more neurotic and prone to mood changes, the cortex tends to be thicker and less wrinkly. People who appear more open, for example curious and creative, shows the opposite pattern. Neuroticism was associated with increased brain activation in left frontal and temporal cortical regions in response to negative emotional stimuli. Here my focus is on explaining the emotional stability and our brain functioning. So the low emotional stability means high anxiety and mood swings. High emotional stability means the person can handle stress well and the person is a relaxed person. My observation while driving on the roads, that is one example, that 90% of the drivers are driving with high anxiety, panic, stress, anger. This clearly indicates that they are low on the emotional stability where their brain functioning has been impacted. Now let's talk about brain and migraine. Migraine impacts 33% of women and 13% of men, and it is a very serious concern. Migraine means throbbing, pounding headache, zigzagging line across field of vision, sensitivity to light, fatigue, disrupted sleep and headache. But headache is not always there in migraine. So let's try to understand how migraine is caused due to the brain disorder. Hypothalamus is the part of the brain that controls the systems behind hormonal balancing, water regulation, that results into yawning burst, sleep disruption, nausea, light and sound sensitivity, and increased thirst. Hypothalamus is the part of the brain that controls the functioning of our system that is connected with migraine. Any disorder or dysfunctioning or injury in hypothalamus may result into migraine. The reason can be lack of nutrition also, where the neurotransmitters are not balanced. Now let's talk about the NCD, that is non-communicable diseases, and CMD, that is common mental disorder, and their connection with the brain. NCD, that is non-communicable diseases, are a very strong factor behind CMD, that is common mental disorder. Few of the NCD are cardiovascular diseases, cancer, diabetes, dementia, hypertension, obesity and overweight. Very strong reason behind NCD is a poor lifestyle, that is low nutrition and no workout or not taking care of the health. The CMD that results from NCD are depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, autism, etc. It has been noticed that NCD results into CMD, resulting into brain injuries and causing detrimental impact on the brain cells. It can be overcome through a good focus on lifestyle, that is, a good structured workout and a balanced food. Here we observed that a major reason behind brain injuries is mental disorders that are caused by poor nutrition or lack of focus on workouts and lack of self-care, that is sleep and water cycle. Therefore, in order to overcome this, the focus should be on the lifestyle that would not only improve brain functioning but also result into reversing the mental disorders too.